Coming to get you, Bobber.
A few days ago, we got that really nice image of Michael Myers at the top of the stairs in what looks like the Myers house, potentially. And that image was from Total Film, the Total Film magazine that's based in the UK, here where I live. And I did read the article. It's quite a small article, but it's got quite a lot of information in it for a small article. And the biggest part of that article that I'd noticed was that David Gordon Green mentioned that this is going to be the explosive middle chapter in the sequel trilogy. Now, ever since he mentioned that he's going to be doing this trilogy, I know we can discount the first Halloween from 1978 because that wasn't his. He's doing 3 movies: Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. This is going to be his own personal trilogy, a trilogy that is classed as a sequel to the original 1978 movie based over 3 films. And I always seen this as similar to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy. And what I mean by that is Christopher Nolan brought Batman, a fictional character, into a realistic world. I've mentioned this time and time again, but he's brought him into this realistic world. And even though Batman is very unrealistic, when you watch the Dark Knight trilogy, it just feels like a really solid movie or solid trilogy that you would think could potentially happen in real life, even though you've got this fictional character. And that's what David Gordon Green is doing for me in this Halloween trilogy. You've got a fictional character doing fictional things in all the Halloween movies that came before this. But then when David Gordon Green took over, he's bringing it back to basics. He's doing what could have, when you look at back in the 1978 movie, what happens in that film is something that could have happened in real life, but thereafter, what happens in Halloween 2 from 1981 onwards, you just know couldn't happen in real life. But then David Gordon Green's bringing it back again, and he's making it like this Dark Knight trilogy. He's given us a Michael Myers trilogy that could happen in real life, a character that's an unrealistic character coming into a real world, and that's why I really liked Halloween from 2018. Yes, it had its flaws, but it was a solid storyline that David Gordon Green tightened up and made it a realistic trilogy. Now, David Gordon Green has made a few good points in this article. He said, the second you start lighting things on fire, everything gets trickier, and that's absolutely correct, because the second you start to confuse things or do things that are over the top, then you're at risk of making it that unrealistic Halloween movie, something that we don't want. Maybe some people do want that. I'm not knocking that, but that's not what I want. I want them to keep it grounded. I want them to keep it a realistic trilogy. So I think that's what he's saying. He doesn't want to overcomplicate things. He goes on as well and says, sometimes when I look at franchises that get bigger and badder, I think they lose some of the heart. I have to keep in mind that the origin of this movie is only a few steps away from Grindhouse. So yes, it's got that gritty, guerrilla style, raw, realistic look of the original, and that's what David Gordon Green wants to continue on, and that's going back to the Dark Knight trilogy with Christopher Nolan. He wants to keep that realistic, grounded trilogy. It goes on and says, when we made the last one, we wanted to find a way for someone who's never seen the original to get up to speed with the story. And yeah, I think he done that, because obviously I've seen the original time and time again, but there are some people who watched Halloween from 2018 who surprisingly had never seen the original, but there's sort of hints, or what you would call maybe Easter eggs, I don't know, subtle hints in the 2018 movie that got us up to scratch without showing us anything that happened in the first movie. All we knew is there was a guy who killed people in 1978, he's in jail or a mental home, and he's been there for 40 years, and he's getting out and he's killing people again. That's really the gist of the story. They don't have to make it convoluted like what Rob Zombie did in 2007. Keep it simple, and if you keep it simple, your viewers will understand it more and they don't have to think about it. This is the interesting part for me. David Gordon Green says, but this one gets right to the action. It's very aggressive. It's more efficient. We wanted it to be an explosive middle chapter before things get streamlined and personal again. And again, that cuts back to the Dark Knight trilogy for me, because the first movie, Batman Begins, it's all about building that character again, whether that be building Laurie Strode for Halloween or building Michael Myers for Halloween. That's the beginning of David Gordon Green's trilogy. And then when he says when he wants to get things more streamlined and personal again, he's talking about Halloween Ends. That's when it comes maybe 1-to-1 between Laurie and Michael, or even Michael and somebody else that we know. So that's when it's going to get more streamlined and more personal. But during that time, you want to have a massive mayhem or carnage. And that's what happened in The Dark Knight with the Joker. Everything was just explosive and crazy. And I think that's exactly what we're going to get with Halloween Kills. We're going to get a lot of kills. We're going to get a lot of people dying that we know. But we're also going to get a lot of unknown people that are going to die as well. That's the explosive part. He's going to go around and have a massive killing spree. And this is just what I'm going from what he said in this article. It might not be true, but that's what I'm picking up. That's the sort of thing that I'm seeing with the similarities between this trilogy and Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy. I love this part as well. David Gordon Green said, "It's about the creation of fear. It's one thing to be afraid of the boogeyman, to have someone who might be in the closet, under the bed, creeping around in your house. But what we wanted to explore next was confusion, misinformation and paranoia. What happens when fear goes viral? You can't just stick your head under the covers anymore." And I think what he means by that is you get stories of the boogeyman, whether it be Michael Myers or somebody else, and you tell your friends about it in school, and you get scared at night because, oh no, the boogeyman could come for me, but deep down you know the boogeyman's not coming for you because he's not real, he's an urban legend or whatever. But in this Halloween Kills, what it looks like David Gordon Green is saying is, people have the fear of Michael Myers, but the safety, knowing that he's locked up. But the fact that he's out there now, the people of Haddonfield know that this myth has become a reality because he's out there now. So that's the long and short of this little Total Film magazine article that they had with David Gordon Green. Again, I think this interview they had with David Gordon Green was quite a while ago, but because of the COVID situation, they've released it a little bit later. So I'm glad that they've released it in January because 2021 is the year that we're going to get the Halloween Kills released eventually. So I'm hoping that we see more articles come out as time goes by with a little image now and again, because we like to discuss the images. I've already discussed the image at length as well. There's nothing else that I've seen since I've discussed it before that's worth talking about. All I can say is it still looks like it could be the Michael Myers house, and that's about it. But the article for me was more interesting than the image. So what do you guys take from this article and the interview with David Gordon Green? What kind of trilogy does it remind you of? And also, do you prefer the more grounded Michael Myers like I do, or do you prefer a Michael Myers that could do anything, just like what we've seen in previous Halloween movies? As always, guys, leave your comments down below. Thanks a lot for watching again, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.